My name is Dr. Diane Mani. I am a mom, wife, clinical psychologist, and coach to the modern mama. My passion is to help modern moms step into their true potential and reinvent themselves so they can live a life they absolutely love. I truly believe that every mom's journey is unique, and I want to inspire moms to own their journey and know it's possible to thrive. Together, I want us to reinvent motherhood. So this is why I'm so excited to bring you this series. Each week, I will spotlight a new mom who I believe embodies the reinvented mom. These women's motherhood journeys are all beautifully different, and they all agreed to share their insights and best advice with all of you to own your own too. So sit back, listen, watch, and enjoy. My name is Dr.
All right, welcome back to the Reinventing Motherhood Spotlight series. I am excited to be bringing you Tamara today. Tamara Gomez is a wonderful part of our community and that she gives back in such a big way, especially to moms. She's the CEO of the San Diego Mom Squad and has literally brought hundreds of mothers together to explore San Diego, take their littles out, and then also just build a community of support for the moms themselves. So without further ado, I'd love for you to meet Tamara, the wonderful, exciting, tough mama that's going to come on here and talk to you all today.
Hi. So I'll just start out by telling you a little bit about me. I'm from San Diego, grew up in San Diego. My husband, he's from Carlsbad, and we have two littles. We have two sons, Weston and Alex, and they are almost 3 and almost 4.
I love it. So I'm just going to out you in this right now because I think the other day you had shared a fun little story about you and your husband. And I wondered if you wanted to just kind of briefly share that because I think that it really highlighted for me your personality, kind of how you've just grown into this very confident person. And so I wondered if you'd be able to share that for us here.
Sure, yeah. Can you remind me what the story was?
Sure. How you guys met, how you guys got together.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, one day I was just on social media, and I'll be perfectly transparent. I was thinking, gosh, I'd really like a boyfriend. So I was just on there and I thought, I'm going to just go ahead and see if I have any friends of friends that I might be interested in. And there he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, he's just so handsome. And
Oh.
just, I was just, I just thought, wow, he looks like a fun person. So I jumped into those DMs. I reached
Yeah.
out to him, and we had a little flirtatious conversation, went back and forth a little bit, and that's how it kind of all started. Then we went on a date, and here we are now with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Fast forward, and here we are.
I love that. When I read that, I was just like, oh my gosh, of course Tamara did that. It was such a really great story. And so, I mean, I think that definitely leads right into that next question around the motherhood journey. So of course, you end up with this wonderful person that you end up connecting with kind of right off the bat. And then you have your 2 boys. And tell us a little bit about your journey, becoming a mom of 2 even.
It was a big growth experience for me, and it still is. I think it always will be.
Mm-hmm.
Still pretty early in the game for me, but it started out actually, and I want to make a point to bring this up, with a lot of anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
And though my journey has always been a blessing to me, I've always wanted to be a mom. Anybody who knows me knows that this is what I've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But you're faced with so many things that you never realized you'd be faced with when you begin this journey, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all kinds of, all the feels. And the hormones, especially having 2 kids back to back pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
both within a year, it was very challenging for me. And so a big thing for me was getting outside, getting out there, getting the fresh air, just taking the walk around the block, starting with the baby steps, and then eventually braving my first play date actually was a big thing for me, because it helped me learn that there are other people out there that are similar to me, and the other moms out there aren't so different, and how much that energized me and made me feel supported just to have those conversations and meet up at the park and have and be around other moms was really helped me. It was a big part of pulling me out of that. So my journey started out really rocky and challenging, but now I'm kind of in a place where I'm still definitely grateful for this journey, but I'm also learning every day and remembering that I'm human and I have limits. So it's a constant learning experience.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you being so open with the whole depression and the anxiety that unfortunately, many moms experience. We don't talk about it enough. It's definitely something that even in my field, it's very disheartening to know that moms struggle so in quiet and alone and don't want to bring it up because there's this fear of somehow thinking that they're the only ones experiencing it, that something's wrong with them because of all of, and it's been years and years and years that this messaging is out there that it is something that happens, but still there's some shame in being able to speak to it in such a vulnerable way. But then as you're talking about it, once we start to peel back those layers or that mask of everything's fine, we start to realize that there's unfortunately more moms that are going through this that are not feeling fine. And had they come together sooner, like you're talking about, and talked about it, it was so much more normal. Doesn't mean that it made it go away, but it definitely helped to have that support, because I know that that's definitely something I experienced my first pregnancy. Even as a mental health professional, I struggled with significant postpartum anxiety. So I do also want to name that you mentioned both, because I think we fixate so much on the depression that they don't talk a lot about like the overwhelming anxiety, like the ruminating thoughts and all the worries that go along with, am I doing this right? Like, what's that cry about? How do I take care of myself? And the physiological experience of the anxiety as well. And so I just really appreciate that you were able to speak to that. And the baby steps, I think the baby steps are so incredibly important. Like just giving yourself the opportunity to say, I'm just going to go outside today. Like I'm going to get some fresh air. I'm going to move my body so that energy doesn't stay put. And then eventually like leading you into, like you were mentioning, like hanging out and doing like mom meetups and play dates and stuff. And so I'm going to jump to that now, because I think that this is like the crux of your other baby that you've created. And so talk to me about San Diego Mom Squad and where that originated from and how that has continued to grow.
Well, San Diego Mom Squad came from a personal need of mine. I noticed that, along with going outside, how important that was for me every day and just getting out there. I also noticed that as my oldest son grew, just going outside and doing the walks for him, he started to pass by people and he would see other kids playing that were older, and he wanted the interaction. And I wasn't ready. I was not ready for it. I had the anxiety as well. I had the worries, and it felt like it was such a heavy load just to manage what I had going on myself. But I knew he kind of forced me into it because I knew that I had to do it for him.
Yeah.
And so I started by just starting up a group on Facebook. I actually had been creating play dates and setting up play dates for a group that I was already in on Facebook. And so that kind of, led me to it, but, wouldn't always work out for me timing wise with the play dates and things like that. So I thought, maybe I'll just create my own group where I can set up my own play dates. And if people want to join, they can join me. And so I'm looking down at my notes here because I did write something about the group that I do want to share.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Okay, so I saw my son's need, and that was basically why I created it. And then basically this group, it's a community for wholehearted moms to connect. And so, and the wholehearted part is big to me because We want to build authentic friendships. We want to be wholehearted in our life. And I looked it up because I wanted to be accurate about explaining this. But when I say wholehearted, by definition, it's complete sincerity and commitment. And I think that that covers just about every one of us.
Yeah.
We all want to be better. We all want better for our kids. We want a sense of individuality, but we also want to make an impact on the community. We're moms that we want to do so many things, and we feel a lot of the time like we're spread so thin. So I wanted to give a place for all of us moms all throughout San Diego County, all, north, south, east, to connect and have a platform where we could accomplish this together.
Yeah.
So we can do activities. We have a Kids for Peace chapter. So we opened up a Kids for Peace chapter called San Diego Mom Squad SDMS Kids for Peace.
Wow.
And through that, we do projects for acts of kindness in the community, things like that. So I just really wanted to create that platform for moms to have one place to go to connect, to build that sisterhood with other moms, to encourage each other to be more hands-on, wholehearted parents, just to kind of accomplish it all, I guess.
And I will say that I believe you're accomplishing that. Like, I scoured the groups of moms groups here in San Diego, and I know you and I had a personal exchange about this, because I moved to San Diego last year, and although we have a couple friends here, I definitely wanted to expand my reach to other moms as well, because I really feel it's important to continue to expose my kids to all different kinds of families and community, and just even be more attached to the San Diego community. And so for me, I wanted to find a mom group that would do that, but I didn't want it to just be a play group. And I think that is what you're talking about right now, is that San Diego Mom Squad is more than just let's go meet up and play. There's so much more to it in the layers that you're presenting here. You're teaching moms to come together from all walks of life, and you're so inclusive in all the things that you do. And even you're so kind-hearted with all of the things that you've put out there, with all of giving back to the community. And also, I know when COVID hit, you started up all these different virtual supports, and I know that I was part of Mantra Monday for a long time. That was really helpful to start to set an intention, because that really aligns with me for how I practice in my world, where I really feel like it is important to have not just like setting the intention, but it was that accountability where you could reach to moms that wanted to do the same, and we can support each other in that way. And I really feel like San Diego Mom Squad really represents that. And so extreme kudos to you, because I think, it really has been one of the first moms groups that I felt, even though, so I have to backtrack and say, I know I haven't gone to the events yet. And yet, and it's because of exactly what you named, like timing and stuff for us has been a little bit tricky, plus COVID. And so, but I think that the fact that you are so active in reaching out to your members, you are still very inclusive of the people that can't make it to these events. I feel that sense of community just in being part of the community chat that you have, and even just the interactions that you and I have had on the side commentaries, like whatever it is. And so again, I think that it's a very unique feeling to be part of the San Diego Mom Squad in that way. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. With regard to, you're exposed to all kinds of different moms, like I said, in different walks of life and different professions, and single moms, blended families, like all those things. And even you yourself, you've got your two littles. Talk to me about the challenges that you experience in motherhood, and kind of the common challenges that you hear as you're interacting with these moms too.
I feel like the challenges change, and I think all of us can kind of identify with this. As the kids grow, you go through different phases. So the newborn phase is challenging. Gosh, especially when it's your first baby, that is probably was one of the biggest growth spurts for me in my early stages of motherhood. Because like I said, I feel like I'm still early in the game, but I feel like as the kids grow, the challenges change. So for me right now, would be patience. They start to ask more questions. The interaction is a lot more involved. The mental, I guess, strength, or I don't know the word for it, but capacity, I guess, to explain things and have patience. And that's a whole new level of a challenge. So I guess looking at my current challenges day to day would be my patience and just mindfulness in how I word things to my children. My challenges that I face from time to time, as far as dealing with a whole community with different parenting styles, opinions, things like that, is here's my whole thing is I started this group from my heart. So I started it with my values, my morals, and I'm going to stay true to that. And in that, I'm accepting of people with different opinions. My friends have different opinions about all kinds of things across the board, but I've always been accepting. I'm open-minded. And I just have, I try to be considerate and mindful towards others, knowing that not everybody's going to do things the same way that I do them. And I love to maintain that vibe for my group because it's important to me. And I think it's what makes a strong community, to have moms that come together and understand that we are going to have so many differences. We really are. But one thing that we can share is this beautiful journey that we're on, that we can support each other and really, like, I get like emotional talking about it, because this is the backbone of community and motherhood. You have to be open-minded and accepting. And I think that what I'm trying to say in my roundabout way is that acceptance is a big backbone of this group. And I think it's served our group very well. And we have a lot of wonderful women who embody that. And I'm proud to have a community where I see people being friendly and welcoming. That's what you want when you go to a play date and when you go to an event. You could be going out on a huge limb, and to walk into a community where you see people being accepting and down to earth and genuine, that's what I'm about. And that's what I want my group to embody.
And I'm gonna say this again. I really feel like it has, like, what you are putting forward right now with regard to this idea of acceptance. Acceptance is such a funny thing, because I think that, especially when I've talked with my clients about it, like really uncoupling the idea that acceptance means that I have to agree with someone else's opinions or journey or whatever it is. It's accepting them full-heartedly for however they're showing up. And that's what you're talking about right now. And I think that that does make your group very different. And at least the ones that I've been to, where there is a little bit, and again, you and I talked a little bit about this before, like just regarding like even like when we were in high school or when we were younger, like just kind of feeling like the in-group, out-group. That's not how it feels in your group. It really is this, like, everybody gets to show up. You might have a different parenting style. You may come from different values or different backgrounds. And I'm going to shake my head, agree that it's fine for you to think this way or think that way or do it that way. But you know what? I'm still here to support you as long as you're going to be accepting and it's vice versa. Great, let's hang out. And I feel like the women that I've interacted with in the group, even virtually, have absolutely felt that way. And I see it with all of the different posts that you have about the new moms that are coming and showing up and being very vulnerable for their first time. And just like, again, I can't say it enough, Tamara, your energy is so inclusive, and it was very comfortable for me to jump on. I remember feeling so anxious even for the very first Mantra Monday that I jumped onto, and you right away, like, I think I tried to like kind of hide out a little bit, and you were the first to be like, Diane, oh, I see you. I see you, like, tell us
Yeah.
about you, and you did it in such a gentle way. It wasn't like you were outing me in the way that you were forcing it. You were just like, I want to make sure that you're seen and
Right.
share what you're comfortable with, is what I remember you saying to me. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay. And so I remember first time I didn't share that much. And then as like things progressed, I felt much more comfortable to express like opinions or give support or give, and I say advice, and I always think about like advice for all of us, and we're throwing it out there and you can take it or leave it. But thank you for the opportunity to have that information, and I'll fit it into my life or not, depending on whether it makes sense. And so again, I do really feel like San Diego Mom Squad has represented that. And it's very clear, the leader, you, it's like coming from you down to everything else. And so I want to transition a little bit, because I think that one of the things that I've watched you do over the course of this year that I've gotten to know you is, I know that you are in this place of continued self-growth. And that's what you had just talked about a little bit ago, was that, you're still learning. But I want to hear a little bit about like you and your journey through keeping this very positive attitude and like having this perspective of life. What do you do to take care of yourself in that way and kind of grow into this very confident and assertive person that you are?
Well, I work at it every day. Like, I'm sitting here right now shaking, shaking. I think it's a little chilly in here, to my defense. But also, like, I get anxiety like that I still work with every day. You see me fumbling a little bit with some of these answers, and it's, a big part of it is because this group means so much to me, and it's hard for me to wrap my mind around what I want to say, because like all of it is so important to me.
Mhm.
But back to your question, I work on it every single day. So just like you said, I kind of acknowledge the self-improvement, and I love to take advice from friends that I have that are, I have friends that are professionals and friends that are not professionals that work in the realm of self-improvement. And I just, being open-minded and taking those grains, a little bit from this, a little bit from that, that's kind of how I live my life. I take it one day at a time, and I just kind of try to acknowledge where I can improve and be better, and just educate myself and try and gain some tools to get through whatever it is, whether it be anger management or setting boundaries, or just dealing with relationships, or dealing with my own mental process. So I guess my answer would be, it's just a constant, it's a constant work every day. It's something that I know that I will be working on every day of my life. It's some days I'll have bad days, some days I have good days, some weeks I'll do, I'll go through this whole thing where I feel so evolved and so leveled up with the information that I get. And then the next week I'll start, getting irritated at somebody in my head, or I'll, snap at my kids, and I'll think, where did all that growth go? So the answer to me is, it's constant. It's going to be a constant work. You can't just, it's not a one and done,
Right.
as you know very well.
Absolutely.
In your
Absolutely.
profession.
Oh my gosh. Like, Tamara, I think the thing that is standing out to me with what you're talking about right now is this beautiful dance between recognizing our weaknesses. Like, I'm going to name it for what it is, like being able to own that and say, I have these things that I need to work on, and I'm going to continue to work on them. And they're a part of who I am. And so there's the dance between like recognizing it and then actively doing something about it. And that's what you're talking about, is like the daily check-in. It is a lifestyle change for people when they think about like growing into emotional and mental health. That's what I always like kind of advocate for, is this idea that it's not a one and done, like you're saying. It's not okay, I'm just going to take this pill and everything's going to go away, because life is evolving all the time. Our kids are evolving all the time. The challenges are changing, and we are always having to pivot in whatever way we need to. And if we can work on acknowledging the weaknesses and working towards strengthening ourselves in those realms that we feel are important to change, that's going to be like the biggest tool that you can carry with you ongoing in life.
Mhm.
The other thing that stood out to me was when you were talking about like, because I can have these exact moments that you're talking about where like I'm feeling just, and again, I'm in this profession and I will have these days where I'm like, yes, I am on it. I feel confident. I feel good. Like I'm giving back to my community. I'm giving back to myself, to my family. Like everything's going well. And I'll hit this exactly what you just named. Like it's usually in the context. So going back to like the patience, I will lose my patience and I will yell more that day, or I will just be like super irritable with everybody. And the first initial limiting belief I'll have is, where did all that growth go? As
Right.
if like it somehow disappeared. And then I have to bring myself back to reality and say, this is a moment in time. All of it's still there. The fact that I can even just like recognize that I'm doing this now is incredibly powerful. And so I think my point of this is to say, sometimes we can have these very limiting thoughts that make us like feel worse. And we have to really learn to catch that and go, it didn't all go away. It's still
Yeah.
totally within me. And I'm allowed to have these bad days, these bad moments, as long as we're doing the thing that I mentioned earlier, where we then acknowledge it and we're growing and we're trying again, like we're starting over. So I
Right.
think that that's wonderful. I see so much of all of what you put out to the world, like the sharing of the vulnerability. And the one thing that is standing out for me on one of the posts that you mentioned, so I'm outing you on all these things here, but it touched my
Okay.
heart, was your growth. You talked about um, acknowledging the things that maybe you did in life that you struggled with, and rather than when those show up, being like upset with yourself around them, you really talked about being compassionate to that person. And I remember that post. I think I even posted it into the Reinventing Motherhood group, because
Mhm.
I was like, oh my gosh, 100%. Like, don't get down on ourselves for the old self or the old mistakes. Like, rather turn to that individual and like love her harder than you ever have, because she needs that more than anything right now. And that was
Mhm.
such a powerful post for me. So I'm just acknowledging you again, and more kudos
Oh,
to you.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to one quote that I heard, and I don't think I'm going to word this correctly, but I think about it often, and it really helped me with that. Is somebody told me, you did the best with the tools and the tools you had at that time. So when you think about your past mistakes, and people who know me know that I have lots of them, okay? But I still love the person that I was, because I know that she did her best. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. A lot of things. I lost my dad, and just a lot of traumatic stuff. And so I have to acknowledge that for her, for the past me.
Yeah.
So I do. And I know that I did the best I could with what I knew that time at that time and the tools that I had.
Hmm.
And that really helps me forgive myself for past mistakes and choices that I made that I wouldn't make the same way now.
Yeah.
So that's been a big one for me.
I feel like that so much parallels to being able to be self-forgiving in motherhood. Like that is such a muscle and a skill that is so important, because as we're talking about just the many challenges that motherhood can bring and will continue to bring, ever evolving and ever changing, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to slip up, we're going to, like we said, yell more than we want to, we're going to disappoint every once in a while. I know that happens with my kids too, and so this idea of self-forgiveness is going to carry you through so that you don't feel like you're getting pushed down in any way. And so I
Yeah.
think that that's such a beautiful thing. Um, how is it being with all of what you've learned, your self-growth, how does this contribute to you with your two boys?
How does it contribute, as in how do I apply it day to day with raising them? It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that because I'm still trying to figure it out. And that's the crazy thing too, because motherhood will put you through all of these growth periods, and it'll have you restructuring so much in your own mind that it's hard to sometimes figure out how you're going to translate that to what you teach your children every day. So I'm lucky that the project that I put my heart into is something that my kids can be a part of, because I think through going to the play dates and seeing me be inclusive, they tend to do the same. You know, kids copy what they see. And so I see my son Alex reaching out to other kids on the playground, you know, talking to people, being kind to everybody, and he doesn't really ever leave anybody out. So whether that's him by nature or whether he saw me doing it, that's what I try to do, is just, you know, I guess when I can teach through example. I'm not always the best example, but when I can take the opportunity, you know, I take advantage of that.
Tamara, that's the best way they're going to learn. You know, I think in all of my studies of child development and psychology, like, we learn from what we see, and it's less about just the words and more about the action, you know, and we see this not just with just child development, but with everything. It's more about how you're putting yourself out there, and people are going to believe the way that you're interacting similar with your kids. They're going to pick up on that. And so definitely credit yourself for the way that your sons are, because they're definitely seeing their mom, even again, good, bad, and ugly, like, work through all of those things. And so they're going to start to know how to have those tools going forward. And so I think you're doing a fantastic job in that way.
Thank you. And I also want to point something out that I know there are some moms out there. A lot of us feel like, gosh, you know, I wish that I didn't do this in front of my kid. I wish I didn't snap at my kid. I wish I didn't blow up. I wish I had that self-improvement in place. I don't fully yet. And obviously I'm a human being just like everybody else. So I do have my bad days with my kids, but something that I remind myself of is that, yes, it's not good for them. It's not good for me. It's not good for anybody involved when you have the blow-ups, but you can come back from that and you can show them that, hey, look, mom made changes. She did things to be a better person. And there's a big lesson in that. So I don't want people to, I guess I'm going to get on my little soapbox right now and say, just don't beat yourself up. If you're going through those things and you don't feel like you have started self-improvement and you don't feel like you have any sort of handle on it, because you will get your footing, you will get a handle on it. And in that, you will set an example, in my opinion, to basically show your kids that you can improve yourself and you can make a change.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think with what you're talking about, it's definitely about, you keep saying it here. And I think that it's so important to continue to recognize that we're human. We're going to have interactions or reactions, excuse me, that are a bit more impulsive. We're going to have our vulnerable times when, you know, regardless of how much self-improvement we make for ourselves, we're, again, still human. And so we have to give ourselves grace in that way. And the coming back, I think what you're talking about, like circling back, I think it's very different if you have this blowout and you don't couple it with what we were talking about, where you recognize, you know, the weakness that you're having in that moment, and you need to come back. And I know I very much so will go back to my kids and I will say, I'm sorry. You know, mommy was having a really tough day, and it's, you know, it's not you. Or if it was, honestly, like, I've had these honest conversations where me and my son will get into it because he's just being really difficult with, like, school or getting something done that I've asked him to do that he knows he's supposed to do. It's something so simple, like cleaning up the toys or something. And so we'll both have these little blowouts with each other where we're, like, literally screaming at each other. And I've gotten to the point where now I tell him, okay, let's take a pause. We're going to go breathe. I'm not in a place yet to talk about it. Neither is he. So we'll separate for a little bit and then we'll come back together. And he's only 7. He'll be 8 this year, but we'll come back together and I'll say, Mommy got really upset. I was yelling, I was screaming, and it is not what I want to do. It is absolutely not what I want to do. And not but, and Maxwell, like, what happened? And he'll say, I didn't want to do my schoolwork. And I'll say, okay, how can we do that differently? Because he's got to own his stuff. I've got to own my stuff. And then we figure it out. Right. Yeah. And so like, he'll come to this, like, he will lead usually the conversation in this way where I'll say, well, what do you want to do then? And he'll say, I just wanted to take a break. And I'll say, then say that. So that we don't have to like escalate this, right? It's just this crazy tantrum. And so the coming back together, and I know this isn't going to be as like effective for like really small children, but definitely like as the kids get older, I think that's another thing that I always kind of remind moms is kids are super smart. And I think I hear this way too often where they say, oh, well, they're too young to understand. I'm like, no. They understand very early on. And so the coming back together is so important. And so I love that. Like, again, the vulnerability piece, I'm allowed to make mistakes, but I'm also going to take responsibility for making sure that I come back and fix it in whatever way I need to.
Right.
So,
yep. And there is a coming back actually that I've found for my little ones, at least I feel like it is, but one of the books that I read said how, you know, when you have those blow-ups, you go up to the child after you calm down and you say, you know, you apologize and you say, you know, can you forgive me? And so I do that with my kids and they will tell me, yeah. And then they'll give me a hug, we'll hug. And so there are simpler steps, I guess, for the little ones that you can do, but yeah, we do that too. And sometimes when they pause and they don't forgive me, I say, okay, you're not ready to forgive me. You can have some time, you know? So
yeah,
we do a little something like that too.
That's awesome. No, I love that because I think, kind of shifting it for all the different ages. Cause I think even with what you were saying earlier, there's always going to be different iterations of the challenges and how to come back together. And just like, trying to imagine how it's going to be when my kid is a teenager and having these conversations. I know.
I'm scared.
Same, I know. But we're practicing it now. And I think that's the most important thing because I think historically this was not something that most parents did. It was literally just do it because I said, you know,
disciplinarian style. Yeah,
absolutely. So I love the collaboration and the respect that, you know, we're creating within the dynamic of like the parent-child relationship now. Last question here. Top advice for mamas. What would you say you'd want to give them?
No, I thought about this one because there are so many good little nuggets that involve self-love, self-care, all that stuff. But what I wanted to go with was choose discomfort over resentment. In motherhood, as many of us have experienced, there are people who have opinions about how you parent, the things you do. And not everybody is very good with boundaries about stating those opinions or respecting your boundaries as a parent. So in my experience, I've found that it's much better to speak up. Now, not like aggressively, but short and sweet's best. Assertively, politely, stand for what you want as far as parenting goes. You are the mom at the end of the day. So choose that time of discomfort, and it might take practicing it in the mirror and saying it to yourself, whatever it may be. Don't kiss the baby. You know, don't give the baby sweets, whatever it is. Because I've been there. So it's much better to speak up. And sometimes you'll find that it's a lot easier because if you don't and you hold on to resentment, you have a choice of either opening that conversation back up later, which isn't always very easy, or holding on to that resentment and trying to let it go, which is also hard. So choose your hard. And I would suggest choosing the discomfort of speaking up over the resentment.
I think that 100% aligns with what you were talking about earlier and how you promote your mom's group. San Diego Mom Squad is, we were talking about this acceptance piece, choosing to be in the discomfort of accepting that there's going to be differences of opinions, that there's going to be differences of the way we want to parent, and rather than feeling frustrated that we're trying to cross boundaries and have control over another person, it's feel like sit in the discomfort that we're going to be different, and don't let yourself get into that resentment. I love that. That's a really, really great reminder. So thank you. I think that again, all of what you're saying today, I'm going to say it again, it is represented in San Diego Mom Squad. And so gosh, like it really is. It's like your little third baby. And I just am loving watching it grow. And again, the community of support that you provide for the moms, and just so many different layers of not just support for, like I said, the moms in the context of we have bodies to be around, but all of the deep heartedness that you're talking about right now, I think is the more important aspects of it. I know, so this will be seen by people outside of San Diego, but lots of people in San Diego, or if you move to San Diego, Tamara, tell us how to get in contact with you and with how to get involved with San Diego Mom Squad.
Okay, so you want to go to sdmomsquad.com, and from there you'll be able to get in contact with me. You can see a little bit more about the group, how we started. You can get connected to our social media platforms off of there. So the one place that you want to go is sdmomsquad.com. You'll be able to connect through our social media through there, and you'll see all of our events. Everything will be right there for you.
Great. Okay. I will definitely put all of those links too in the video. But I am just going to take this opportunity to thank you so much for everything, for this conversation, and again, for all of what you're doing for moms, because I think that that definitely aligns and connects with my heart of this woman right here. Man, you're doing an amazing job. So keep it going.
Thank you. And thank you for having me and interviewing me, and also for your amazing support that you've been offering to the community. I get a lot of value out of that. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad to do it, and happy that we're able to collaborate together in that way. So
me too.
You have a wonderful day, and we will connect soon.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.